And how was it then?
Everybody just gambled, no problem at all. Uh, um, One time I was riding bitter weed from the mile, and I had a friend, girl me, Hazel Sargent. She might be one of the Chippy brothers now, and I give her the number 1 and 1 to play, you know, and I give her the money to play the number. But what really happened in the paddock? A jockey named Errol Stanislaus. He stopped riding. He used to ride better weed before, and he knew how to ride it. So he used to tell me he become a trainer, and he was teaching me how to ride her. So one day, what he did was bandage up one of the leg of bitter weed that they was so when they see her come in the paddock and I on her, they say, "Man, Sam is a good rider, but you look like Bitterweed kind of a little limping today, because they got one leg bandage up, you know. She might not make it, but that's what's the jive. You know what I mean? Nothing happened to her leg.
It's a lot of tricks.
Yeah, that was the trick. And what she did, she heard for the people saying Bitterweed lame and she can't make it, so she didn't buy the ticket. She didn't buy Bitterweed because if he ain't other people say, throw her off.
You're
So
right.
she bought somebody else's ticket, somebody else's number. So Bitterweed won the race. It was 1 and 1. Fincastle and Bitterweed. And she fainted. I'm didn't scare her. She fainted.
Let me ask you a question. You
Uh-huh.
think we can facilitate the track again? Can we bring it back, the horse racing? And how would it be done?
Well, when Mr. Penland closed the racetrack, it was because of mostly the casino and Cable Beach and other executive keep it pumping, and he see the vision that so many people was gambling so heavy on the racetrack and losing their money. They figured that they couldn't afford that. Casino going on, the racetrack going on, with the natives gambling, everybody gamble. So he saw that purpose. Even with the casino today, you always feel like the Bahamian people are not ready for that big game. Because I know right around here in Aja, a lot of people, they even gamble and play the web shop, and they lose. I saw men, even taxi drivers, who were not working, driving their taxi now, hustling around the web shop. Like other people go there to buy, they would want $1 to play a number. It's a disease more likely. And if you can't afford to gamble or afford to lose, it could be detrimental to your whole family and career. You got to be able to afford to gamble. Now, taxi drivers who would always will make $1, more likely they maybe could afford to gamble $10 or $20 a day and lose it today, but then later on tonight they wait till the next day to make that same $10 back. But when you just waking and getting a weekly salary or every 2 weeks, it will hurt if you lose because you don't get no more money until next week, and it hurts you. But me or you who drive a taxi have more opportunity and more privilege to play. Now, in the casino on Paradise Island, the government didn't say, well, they want to have a play like, say, well, what we call that word, like having you can't go where I could go, things like that. It wasn't like that. It was like you can't afford to lose.
Okay.
It would bring strain on the government, and also the casino was made for the tourist recreation by themselves. When the casino was down on Bay Street, was no problem. But you couldn't go in the casino on Bay Street unless you have money. You got to show your money. You got to go in tuxedo with you and your spouse and show how much money you got to start to play with the Bay Street Boys.
So you'll advise against starting the track again?
Well, Mr. Ingram promised. He promised Cadet brothers who had a lot of horses. Promised Lionel Murphy, all those gentlemen who have plenty of horses to race. He promised them that he would build another racetrack at Carmichael Road area. The land already prepared for that. But it never come to fruition. You know, so many of those fellas just switch and switch. And a lot of horses died because of that fact, because they couldn't afford to keep them,
Right.
to support them. And that made a lot of conviction, you know, but horse racing in the Bahamas, you'll never see horse racing again in the Bahamas.
Never. So
Never.
what happened to the whole industry? Like all trainers we had, what happened?
They're just going up the scene. They're right around here now. I meet many of them every day. Sam, you think we can ever have a racetrack again? I say, no, man. Forget about that.
So officially, when did the racetrack close?
Racetrack closed around in the 70s.
Like 75,
74,
75,
around there.
75.
Just before independence and all that.
Right.
Racetrack closed. You know, everybody always trying to get it back, but that would never come back.
No.
Before I come back, there'll be some more casinos open in the islands, in my view.
Okay, Sam, let's move on. Let's talk about your. So when the track closed and you went to you say you went on the contract.
I went on the contract.
But I understand that you had a boxing career as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was boxing. When I come off the racetrack, I went to train to be a prize fighter. And then I formed an organization called the Fighting Hawks. And Spurgeon Battle had the Fighting Tigers.
Fighting Tigers.
Yeah, we had two clubs, battle with each other. Twice a week we used to box. Box in Zanzibar, in Bodie Bank upstairs there. My office used to be as General Secretary of Bahamas Construction Building Trade Union. That's where we used to box. And then we used to box at the Bahamas Boxing Stadium, Douglas Carey Stadium. And we used to promote fight up there and box. And I started box. But my biggest fight I had is with Battling Douglas, because he's one of the best ever in his career. Battling Douglas, he would punch you. He'd punch you furiously. That Battling Douglas was a good fighter. And one time, Spurgeon Bell was his trainer, and Charlie Major was the promoter. And they promoted me in Battling Douglas to fight the semi-final in the pond. He was about 25 pounds heavier than me. But because of my ability, the match of Stony Cadet with my trainer, Boston Blackie he used to fight Battle Royal when I was fighting. And I become some heavyweight champion now.
What is a battle royal?
Battle Royal is you close your eyes, you tie a cloth around your eyes, and they throw money in the ring. And 5 or 6 or 10 fellas in the ring boxing, throwing blows, and picking up money at the same time. It was called Battle Royal. Yeah, that's what Boston used to be, Battle Royal, while I was a real boxer. And me and Battling Douglas, I lose on, not really. What happened to you going 6 rounds? And in the 5th round, I knock him down, and he used to lift weight, barbells, lift weights. And Cyril Smith, he was the referee, and he counting on Douglas. And this last one to come down, he takes so long to come down for a man to go 10. He counted to 9 and Dougie get up.
Okay.
So he had to stop the count. He went back to the corner, and I see him throw all kind of water on Dougie. And I knew he was fresh then. I know he was better than me when I even decided to fight him. But the point is, Stoney say, Sonny Cadet was one of the best and fastest. To beat Dougie, you got to beat him from the head because he was weak in the head. They used to lift barbells. Body punches won't do him that because he was very strong and very physical. So I feint him. I do like this. I show my left hand up, and he show his own up. And I come with the right straight to the head, and boom, going down like that.
Knockout.
Knock. And man, listen. So Stoney say, after battle Saul Smith takes so long to bring the hand down, then I know it was a trick. So Stoney threw in the towel. So I just stopped fighting him.
So you're the winner.
Yeah, I was a winner. But the point of it is, I didn't go back in the battle ring. So I gave him the fight. But we had a protest, but was nothing about that.
So in those years when you were boxing was like a major sport.
Real thing, man. Boxing was a real sport.
I heard about the Hanger days.
Hanger season. I bought Bunny Grant.
You promoter?
Yeah. Me and God, right, began to do together. Me and God and Junior Butler, Nelson Butler, we was in that area. Godray was one of the trainers for Obed, along with Mr. Forsyth. We had a good time. Me and Godray, we brought in Bunny Grant to fight Obed.
And this was like 70s, 60s?
In the hangar.
70s, right?
Yeah, in the hangar at Oaksfield.
Right.
That way we fight all the time.
I hear was standing room only.
I'm promoting from then. My wife stopped me from boxing because she said she don't want me to get hate. So I stopped fighting and I started to promote. Because I even fight on, I don't remember Joe Lewis.
Joe Lewis,
Joe Lewis, the world heavyweight champion.
the great American.
Yeah. You know where he fought? He fought in Collins Yard. Come to fight an exhibition for the country.
Okay.
Yeah, and I fought on that card. I beat a fellow named George Bannister. I was surprised. A couple of years ago, I saw him walking the street where I was living, where I live in now, in Gardner too. I said, George, you still around? I knocked him out, he threw up Gonzalez in the ring. That's what he did that day. I beat him, Good Baby Boy Roll and Douglas fought on that same card in Collins Yard on Joe Lewis' card. That's a history.
I know.
Ain't many people even know that. They never know that the boxing ring was in Collins Yard.
I never knew that myself.
Yeah, man.
But the state of boxing back then compared to now, how would you compare it?
Boxing in those days was good. You hear me? I don't know why they let destroy everything that seemed to be good and they just destroy it. Everybody was just waiting for Mr. Major, Charlie Major, who was one of the biggest promoter at that time, to have a fight in the barn. And Dougie Carey. We used to bring even wrestlers here in the stadium. Wrestlers, right. Yeah. Cleopatra was one of a good boxer. You had even Gomeo Brennan and all those guys were from Bimini. They used to come here to fight.
So we had a good boxing history again.
Yeah, man. Baby Boy Roll and Baby Boy Roll and Al Taylor. And you had fellas like Bobo Reckley, Minus Senior.
And these are all great Bahamian boxers.
Yeah, man, they were good. They were good fellas, man. You had them. Well, I mean, they was in my category. Then yes, so smitten them. Then you had Elijah Obed and them. They come way after,
Yeah.
They
So,
were
so,
young,
so what weight you used to carry? Lightweight?
yeah, 130,
130. So you're
Yeah,
lightweight.
130, yeah, or
Lightweight.
featherweight, but they call
Featherweight,
it
yeah.
now. They call it now.
So tell me something. Back in the day, how was the funding for sports? Like say in the
But we
day.
all know we used to get plenty of money, but it was good. You know, whatever you get, it was good. You know, then you fight the Birdland with Kingsley Wilson and all them promoting fights and stuff. You get £5 and £10 heavyweight like that. You get and Elijah Marshall and them, and you had fellas like what's the fella name now I want to call it? It was a real good fighter. You know, like Baby Boy Roll. He was one of the good fighters.
I remember that name.
Yeah, Baby Boy Roll. Then you had this fellow, whose name? He walk around now. He's a good fighter. Perigord.
Ken
Yeah,
Perigord.
yeah, Ken. What his name is? Berto. Yeah, he wrote a book
Okay.
right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I know
Perigord
that
won
name.
heavyweight champion. He was also good. And
And at the time when Joe Louis came here, that should have created a big buzz, a big
I'm
crowd.
telling you, man, because you had like big time fellas used to box then. You know, we were just in the amateur section, but that was a real good time of boxing. And it was a lot of fun in boxing. But today I don't know how it just get straight away. You know, for a couple of years back, you had Minus Junior. He started to do well.
Yeah, Minus
Because he did a lot of good fighting.
Minus and
Minus
Quincy
did
Pride
it.
was
Yeah,
a
and
good
Quincy-
rivalry.
Yeah, that was
It's a great rivalry.
yeah, with Minus and Quincy, they used to put a good crowd, especially
That's right.
especially Quincy.
Yes.
And I can tell you with them too, how Minus Junior used to be Quincy. Quincy never knew. Me and him was good friends, you know, but he never speak with me on those things because he had trainers and whatnot, you know.
Right.
But seeing that me and Minus Junior, his daddy, we were so close. I used to tell him, Minus Junior on the side, how to fight Quincy. He didn't know how to fight him. See, anytime you go in a ring with an opponent, you in your corner and he in this corner. Sometime a fighter kneel down in the ring in his corner, back on, and pray or make the sign of the cross and don't prevent the bettering, you just get him turned around. So you're looking straight at him while he's doing it. You don't do yours, but you're looking at him when he's doing that. And the minute the bell ring and he turn around, you're right in this corner to bet him.
Okay.
The minute you turn around, you hit him, and you take his nerve right then. Sometimes a guy get knocked out on the first round like that because when he turn around, your opponent right in his face, boom.
Yeah.
That's how I used to fight.
But let me ask you again, what was your record like when you retired from boxing?
When I retired from boxing, I think I had about 7 fights. 7, real fights.
Right.
I lose about 2 fights. The rest mostly draw. In my class, in my weight.
Your weight draw.
But I was ahead
All right.
when I resigned from fighting.
As we take our first break, you can reach us here at www.bahamasportsradio.com. And when we come back, Mr. Stam Stubbs, Bahamian icon, could be talking to us a bit about Majority Rule Day. Our holiday is on Friday, so he's going to give us some insight about that. So listen up, call a friend, tell him about hanging out with T-Roy, Stam Stubbs.
Life ain't all about feeling nice. Sometimes we got to go through some things. Sometimes we're gonna face many pain and suffering. We got the
are as good for your health as they get. At Arizona, we believe that when you put good in, you get good out. No artificial flavors or colors and no preservatives. We create the best tasting iced teas and fruit drinks out there. Then we offer them in bigger cans at better prices. And they are available at your favorite store. Arizona brand beverages. Keep it real. Keep it simple. Distributed by Bahamas Wholesale Agencies.
And Sueño with Color Safe is a fabric softener that keeps your clothes looking bright and new, wash after wash. It's the only fabric softener with a special color protecting agent that prevents fading and leaves your clothes soft to the touch with less static cling. And Sueño relaxes fabrics and reduces wrinkles, leaving your clothes easier to iron. It dissolves easily without the risk of staining, giving you all the softness and fragrance your family deserves. And Sueño is distributed by Bahamas Wholesale Agencies Limited.
Refined style with elegant taste, then fine threads is your place. If you want those slacks hemmed or just taking the waist, then fine threads is your place. If you wanna look suave and debonair everywhere you go, like you're supposed to be in a video, wanna step out and look great, then fine threads is your place. Refined style with elegant taste, then fine threads is your place, is your place, is your place.
The Athlete's Foot, located in the Mullet Marathon, offers the highest selection of popular and best-selling athletic footwear.
Man, I love playing basketball. I love playing with my friends, shooting some hoop, just forgetting about everything and concentrating on the game. But not so much if I got the wrong shoes. That's why I go to the Athlete's Foot. Because they independently owned, they got all the tight gear in my neighborhood, and they know what shoes are gonna work best for me when I'm playing ball. So I can forget about my feet and get my head back in the game. My life, my shoes, my store. It's in the bag at the Athlete's Foot.
The Athlete's Foot, Mullet Marathon.
AID features Napa Auto Parts which meet or exceed OE specifications. Parts for Asian vehicles are available at great prices. Filters from $2, brakes from $22, tie rod ends from $21, head gaskets from $10, and fuel pumps from $32. AID is also your destination for the best selection of automotive accessories. Hubcap sets from $22.45, steering wheel covers from $4.50. Car mat sets from $8.45 and seat covers from $34.44. Wipers, wash and wax products, motor oils, and automotive chemicals for every vehicle. Angle grinders from $44.53. Pressure washers from $162. For the month of January, all Napa batteries are 15% off at all AID locations. AID is now open Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and Sunday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. AID, Blue Hill Road and Wolf Road have all you really need and more.
Sports Radio 103.5, where we're all sports all the time.
Welcome back. You're hanging out with T-Roy. I have here as my guest, Mr. Sam Stubbs, a Bahamian icon. You can get us here at www.bahamasportsradio.com, or you can wait on our conversation at 676-4153 or 676-4199. And in this last half hour, Mr. Sam Stubbs is going to tell us a bit about Majority Rule Day. Since it's a holiday on Friday, and this gentleman has a lot to say about it, and I can say he was part of history back in the day. So go ahead, Mr. Sam Stubbs. Tell us a bit about Majority Rule Day. Tell us how the story goes.
Well, listen, people. In the Bahamas. Tonight I want to say something to many Bahamian, young and old alike, who don't know, and some don't want to know, and some don't care to know how majority rule come about. But I can tell you, this time, I would just do that from the bottom of my heart, and I'm speaking the truth and nothing but the truth, so the Lord would help me to speak the truth. Majority rule started way back of things that we couldn't do here in the Bahamas as a Bahamian. Men in those days couldn't vote if they didn't have land, valuable, or house, or home of their own. Men couldn't vote. You understand what I'm saying? The men couldn't vote. I won't talk about women, because women just come along in the 60s. But way back from when I was a boy in Andros, that we had to go in the field and all that, and fishing to make a living. When the UBP boys come down the Andros and bring the flour and the grits and all that kind of stuff and clothes, and sometimes they used to go to the men who could vote and tear the pound and 1 pound in half, or the 5 pound in half, say, you vote for me. When you vote for me and I win, you get the next half. I know all of that. I could remember that vividly in Andros, the pastry boys. You know, it's very hard to know that 15% of the other side was ruling over 85% for decades. From Columbus leave, they was in charge. And the Heyman majority had no say. Number one, we had to leave school when you're 14, where you could write, read, or count, or spell. That's why they used to call it old age school. When you get to that age, get out of school. Go fishing, go crabbing, go conking, go diving on Bay Street or anywhere a tourist or a boat is anchor, and they throw money in the sea, and we do just that. My dad, he was a cook on a boat in Andros called Endeavor or the Blenny, owned by Hattie McKinney in Long Bay Keys, Andros, the Bluff. And they used to go sponging, and when they come to the city of Nassau to sell their product, sponge and other things they got from the farm produce, when they go to J.P. Sands and the other stores to buy their stuff to come back to go back to Andros, they used to pay for one thing but 3 or 4 times, and that's only one thing. Like an undershirt, a t-shirt, a bibbidi, a underwear, a singlet, all that was just one. But they used to pay for 4 and 5. Like it's different. Like it's a different t-shirt is a t-shirt. You need to get one t-shirt. But they had it on the book for 4 and 5 times because the people, the men, they were ignorant of the fact because they couldn't count and they couldn't read. So my dad used to bring me with him when they come to sell their stuff from Andros. So when they say, what do you owe? And I look on the book, I got to correct that for him, for my dad, Samuel Stubbs Sr. from Andros. I was the only boy he ever had with 2 wives, 5 sisters, and 1 son he ever had. But I was just that intelligent to work on that. Certain places that you couldn't go, everybody knew that. You couldn't pass the arch after 6 o'clock in the evening. Even the lady who I used to ride for, Lady Oaks, I couldn't go in British Columbia yard with her uniform on, just on ride, but I still couldn't go to British Columbia. So education was mountain high. Go to government high school. Where's government high school? Only a few people could go to government high school, those who probably could afford it. Right from the Hilton Hotel to the corner, that was a government high school used to be. You couldn't go to certain restaurant, Jimmy Jones and all those places. You couldn't go to no restaurant, no Greek restaurant to eat. Couldn't go to Savoy Theater. I know a gentleman who used to go to the same church. And Brother McCartney, Sonny McCartney, who was one of our leader, East Gospel Hall, he went there to get his haircut. Brother McCartney said, you can't trim black people there. So it was education. Central Gospel Hall and the one in the Valley, in Palmdale. You couldn't go there to break bread on Sunday morning. You go there any other time, but on Sunday morning you go to break bread. We who to go to East Street, be in town, or Shirley Street, we couldn't go there to break bread because they say we can't drink out the same cup, and they all were Christians. So we had to go to church. There are other places where we could break bread on Sunday. What that was education. The white or half Congregational minority was always dominating the majority of black people in the country. It was so hard. And depression, those people, ladies who used to work in those people's houses, maids, they were under heavy scrutiny, you know? And they were even taught that if they don't force their husband to vote on the other side, they will lose their job.
Mr. Stubbs, we have a call here. You want to take it?
Yeah, I'll take it.
Go ahead.
Good night. Good night, sir.
Good night. Good night.
Hello.
Yes, good night.
Oh, and good night, Mr. Stubbs, too.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Man, I hear you talk with this gentleman, Bobo Rackley.
Yeah.
Man, I did hear about him, you know. I didn't meet him one time. He was telling me one story. He was a boxer, right? Then he would say, he did box this gentleman. There was a championship fight here. And so he's boxing this gentleman. This gentleman was killing him with the beating. Say the gentleman was better than him. Say, but when the gentleman threw down, in one round, the gentleman threw down, he guard, and he hit him one blow and knocked him out, and he win the championship. That was true?
Yeah, that's true. Bobo
and
Rackley was
when
one
they fight him against it, the gentleman knocked him out quick.
Bobo Rackley was one of the best fighter around here. But he did, but a lot of people just don't recognize the good people who do things, you know what I mean? They don't get the recognition.
I think we have a problem of recording these events in the right way. I find that a lot of people just are leaving it out, and somebody needs to record it.
But sometimes I go by favors. Right now, I don't believe the man who used to take all the pictures of boxers, he died not too long ago. And, you know, I'm on Legend with Ace, the ZNS, and they couldn't find a picture of me in neither uniform when I used to ride or when I used to box.
Wow.
Yeah, so you used to ride bicycle with Boston Blackie them too?
Yeah, and Stony Cadet used to do...
I ask the question?
Yeah,
yes. Because when I was a little small, right, I still small, but I just grew up more. In the days, ran in the early 70s, in the late 60s, you did that Sugar Kid Bo and Boston Blackie, they used to put on an exhibition fight. Out of them two, who you think was the best?
Boston Blackie was always better than them.
And Sugar Kid Bo
Sugar Kid Bo was a good fighter.
Yes.
I must say that he was a good pleaser. Yeah, he was a good pleaser and give you fun. And another guy too, Cassius Moss.
Yeah.
He was also good, a pleaser. There are a lot of guys who have been around who were good boxers and they were good card pleaser, you know what I mean? But they don't get much recognition. I just don't know why.
Yes. Like I see one time that Quincy Triller Miller, right? He want to meet Ray Minus Jr. You think Quincy could take out Mr. Ray Minus Jr.?
I don't think Quincy would have ever beat Ray. He never been a fight with Ray.
But he draw the crowd. He got on top.
But he's a crowd pleaser. He will draw the crowd.
Yeah, they had some
Quincy will draw a crowd more than most fighters around here.
Yes,
because of his style and his modern behavior. But
he ain't really like that.
No, he ain't really like that. Not see, the doctor told him that he is kind of little off on one eye, and he still won't take that as a lesson.
Because He's saying he want to fight, but he's saying they wouldn't give him his license to fight. Sound like he just want to fight Choo Choo Maki or something to it.
Yeah, but he kind of blind on one eye because he cross-eyed, you see?
Oh, yeah.
And they believe that's the
okay.
most time when he get hit.
Yes. But
He's a good fighter.
A next fight supposed to be coming up. Ray one challenge Ray Minus Jr. That ain't in the makings.
No, I don't think
But-
so. I
but
think
I don't know,
Quincy's
because my
finished boxing.
my son Tommy Stubbs, button formal weight, that's my son who's promoting fight now, who had his first promotion at Wyndham last month or something like that. And,
All right, sir.
you know, you could get some good information from me.
Anyway,
you know.
thank you, caller.
So then Quincy should stay in the corner. Don't come out that corner now.
No, not there. Not now. You better stay driving taxi for the rest.
Okay, all right, sir.
Thank you, caller.
Keep up the good works, man.
Yeah,
Okay, man. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
So, Mr. Stubbs, go ahead. You was telling us about majority rule, but just go to that vote. Everybody sort of, I don't know, everybody have their own opinion about the vote with Mr. Brennan as well as Mr. Fox. Mr. Fox.
Now listen. Now this is right down to the real point of what really happened. Because we had many meetings during that time after the election. After the tie between the United Behemoth group. There was never a party. There wasn't a party yet. They were just a group of men. They were called the Bay Street Boys. Of the Sasafa Sons and Soror and Simonet and the Puge and the Audreys and the Sweetings and the Sons, etc., which are majority of businessmen in the Bahamas. For 300 years or more, since Columbus leave, they was in charge of the Bahamas. And the depression from them that sprinkled down the minds and the hearts of so many Bahamian who are past and gone and who are present, couldn't do this, couldn't do that, couldn't go here, couldn't go there. And because they had the finance and we had none. And you know, one night on Windsor Park, the United Bahamian Party, they had a rally on Windsor Park. It's right in the book, written by Saranda, Fate That Moved the Mountain. He said, Sasafa said these words, keep education from the masses and they won't know the value of money. And you find out that Sarando, myself, and Mr. Penland, and many others rushed to the podium, police cycle around us not to go to the podium, but it was too many of us. Like Foster, there was too many of us. The jail can't hold all of us. And we went to the podium on Windsor Park and break the meeting up. It was always his intention that we would rise, and we would rise what trouble it would be. Because 15% was leading 85% all them years. And right now you'll find people who will say, although the Bishop was ruling for all them years, they won't say nothing about that. It's good. But the PLP being 40 years is too much. Why? Mr. Penland said one night in a rally when we won, he said, if we would be careful for nothing, 60 years would be the turning point for the Bahamas. You see, it will take 20 years to find out what was going on in the Bahamas with the UBP all them years. It would take 20 years to find out what was going on. It would take another 20 years to stop what was going on. And the next 20 years to start afresh for what we want to do or where we want to go. Now it's 40. We got 20 more years to get where we want to go. And it seemed that way like it coming. In this year, 14, in this year, everybody would see where this country want to go and what it will be. in days gone by, you can count almost about 10 political parties form against the Progressive Liberal Party.
Throughout the 70s and 80s?
Yeah, and lose. You had the Free PLP. You have the now PLP. You have the former PLP. You have those who leave and split, who was with PLP years ago. They leave and form. You have Independence Party, all kind of parties form. And PLP just slaughtered them. PLP was put here by God. They do some wrong things. Yes, who is perfect? None is perfect. None that do it good. Because the Bible says all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. But I can tell you, the best thing you ever had that come this way is the PLP. Those guys that break off from the PLP, they were all PLPs, you know. But there only could be one king on a throne at a time. Everybody want to rule. And why they formed? Because they want to destroy the PLP. That's why. It's not that they just hate Penland. They want to destroy the PLP. And the PLP was put here to stay. I hear Mr. Christie always quote a scripture, will put on the breastplate of righteousness and guide yourself with the armor that when the fiery dart come to you, they would bounce off.
Right.
See, when Satan leave heaven, or kick out of heaven, he brings some angels with him. He brings some angels with him. And those angels awaken.
Right.
When Mr. Ingham leave the PLP, that when he was dismissed from the PLP, he brings some people with him. He split the party, so he split the people. Some with him and some with Ping. You got to remember that he was chairman of the PLP. So a lot of people know him. So they went with him too. Because I hear Mr. Jones ask Mr. Hanna today, he said every time the PLP win, they win by lesser margin of votes. But the reason for that is, he mentioned Dr. Ever Donaldson. He leave the PLP, so the votes them drop. Ingham leave, and the votes drop.
So, Mr. Stubbs, tell us about the pivotal role you played with that majority rule and the vote.
All right. Now, that day, I had a meeting with my boys to my office in Booth Bank.
And you were the...
I was the General Secretary of the Bahamas Construction Building and Trade Union.
And chairman, right?
Yeah. So I asked the question, why we have to vote for Mr. Fox to join the PLP or the UBP. Why?
And this was just after the general election.
Yeah. This after, and especially after Mr. Brennan already gave the yes to Mr. Penland.
And this was 67.
Yeah, 67. So, because I know the majority of women is with Sir Randall, okay? They like him to death. So I say, you know something? We are a crossroad. Lord have mercy. This is what we've been fighting for all these years, to put the majority of Bahamian in power. Over 15%, and we are 85%. We can't get nowhere. And this is the turning point to do it right now. So I suggest I would make a motion when we meet the House of Labor up the road. Mr. Cooper, Gus Cooper Daddy, Fred Cooper, who was the treasurer of my union, will second the motion when I make it for Mr. Fox to give the PLP the seat. And everybody agree on that. The night we went up to vote, the road was blocked from St. Barnabas straight to Windsor Park on both sides. all the UBP fellas, all the PLP fellas, independents, everybody was downstairs. The road was crowded, blocked with cars, big-time fellas, and bags, money all over the place, giving out this one to vote and all that kind of stuff, you know what I mean, for the UBP that night. And this guy came upstairs, say, Mr. Stubbs, he say, the staffers are rolling them in the pews, them all them downstairs, you know. So I looked through the window, man, they were there, all over the place, in all the, black and white. Everybody was waiting, what's Saranda going to do? And on Her Majesty's service, he said, give this to Mr. Fox. I put it in my bag, you know.
What was that?
I was the general secretary at that time, and Gartwright was there too. But I put the letter in. You see, all the communication come to me.
Okay, so a letter. Give you a letter.
Yeah, letter come. I didn't pass it to him. I put it in my briefcase. So when he did knock the gavel, I rise. I said, Mr. President, I make a motion, if I could obtain a second, that the Labour Party give the seat to the Progressive Liberal Party, and Fred seconded, and the crowd going crazy.
And that was the end of it?
That was the end of it. Nobody vote. Everybody run downstairs, the PLP won.
And
that's how it happened, just like that. It's for a moment. That's how it happened.
And what does Mr. Fox say at the time?
He was mad at me until he's dead. I'm serious. And that's my good friend. I saved him so many times. Even the general strike, I saved him. I used to be the driver.
And it went just like that?
I'm saying to you that Sam Stubbs was next to Fox. The only person who knows Mr. Fox better than me is Lady Fox, because that's his wife. When he was charged with sedition, I was told not to pick him up that morning at 5 o'clock. Somebody was waiting to bump him off. So I would have get bumped off too. Because even my house was burned down in those areas. I get beaten on many occasions and get hit by men out there who people don't know and never tell. That's why my wife stopped me from being in politics before she died. She stopped me with the politics. What I've been through with Randall, me and him travel the islands together. We form unions in different other islands. We went around to schools, even when he read the book. Me and him, I go places and he played the motor organ and I sing to the schools.
Right.
When he wrote the book, we used to go around and giving out the books and selling the books. I used to put, when the book was launched to the colors of the Bahamas, I sang and give a speech there.
The Faith That Moved the Mountain.
The Faith That Moved the Mountain. If everybody in the Bahamas have that book, If they don't have it, I urge everyone to get a book from Lady Fox. She have them books at home, and they have different copies now. As you know, everybody try to write me off of history or put me out of history, but I'm there.
But that vote seems very. Could have gone either way.
No, that's why I stopped the vote. Okay, say suppose we had to vote. The women was dominating. I feel like they would have voted for Mr. Fox to join the UBV. You know? That's what I feel like. That's why it happened that way. But you know something? With that, I'll say this. My objection to that was, if Mr. Fox was really really serious about the PLP being the majority rule day, as we call it, I feel to myself, nobody could get between me and Sir Randall, because I brought Vivian Blake from Jamaica to law for him, and he is writing a book, Who Raised the Fund. Sam, Stubbs, Godfrey, and Myron Stott, all of us raised the fund. The monies that people gave me when my house burned down, I take that money and have to bring Vivian Blake here and check him in the Carlton House Hotel on Bay Street,
right,
where Telecoms was. I brought him from the airport, so I know. Me and him and Saranda was together all the time during this edition. and I sing my heart out on Windsor Park, Clifford Park, everywhere Foxman. I sing him in the house in 56 when the Magnificent Six win for the for PLP for the first time. I was always there. So I can tell you the truth, whether they like me or not, nobody did it for me in that manner. I just feel like it was time for the people of this country to take over their own destiny.
So I can say that you sort of set that vote in motion.
It's me what caused the majority rule, whether they like it or not. Okay, if they don't believe it, ask anybody what was the count, who counted the vote, and how much the PLP get and how much the UBP got. Ask them, if the people vote for folks to give the PLP the seat, how much UBP get and how much PLP get? Could they tell you how much vote each one get?
I never heard the story like this, Mr.
Oh,
Stubbs.
but that's how it going. Was no vote, nobody vote. When I make the motion, Fred Cooper second the motion, the crowd dispersed and run downstairs, and they say the PLP won, and that was it.
And that was all over.
That was all over. Nobody vote.
And how did you and Mr. Folks? What happened after that? With you two?
We began to split. Godred went and joined up with the other parties.
Right.
And I go on with the PLP side. And Labour just keep on fading. I never get paid. I used to get my salary every week. And from 67, I get another envelope.
Wow. Mr. Stubbs, I'll have to invite you back sometime. But I just want you, before we leave, tell us a bit about your profession. Now, you drove taxi for a while. Tell us what's going on in business now.
Business is bad for taxi drivers. During the general strike, I was a mason doing construction at the National Airport. And the real problem was with the taxi drivers that Sir Stafford Sands was the Minister of Development, Tourism. And it come to the point that Mr. Don knows who was big with transportation mover, but he was a Bay Street boy. And he gave him, Sir Stafford gave him permission to bring people from the airport in buses and whatnot. So that's Maine to knock the taxi drivers off his drive. And Sir Clifford, who was the president of Bahamas Taxi Cab Union at that time, he was also a member of the Bahamas Federation of Labor. And time after time, even though big cruise ships used to come in, they used to give Mr. Nose a time. Like, they used to share the ships. You have a 7 or 8 limousine and a couple of buses. How you could handle 4,000 people on the ship? So he used to load all his cars first and buses first and would leave. He used to point out to his friends in the Bahamas Taxi Cab Union, like, give this one a job, like that, Like we were just strangers, because he was in charge of the ship, okay? So he gave his people to who you want to give them to, And year after year, that keep on boiling up in the drivers, when you couldn't go to the airport to bring up people, and Don knows and all the people you were there couldn't carry on, That's what boiled up to bring it into the striking zone, And to me, right now, it's so much to talk. We don't have much time like that. But I can tell you right now, it comes down to the same old thing. All the buses, big buses on Bay Street, carrying all the people to Paradise Island. You know how that happened? Many people don't want to hear this, but this is the fact. The UBP brought a man from England called Mr. Martin Pounder, Chief Industrial Officer, after the general strike, to split all the unions into to strip the federation in different pieces. That's why we have all these different unions, different presidents and secretaries and treasurers, to make it weak, that they won't have a general strike in the Bahamas again.
Right.
Our meeting place was over at Scotiabank on Bay Street. That's where we used to meet. And I had more problems with them Bay Street boys in negotiation. I had made the laws of this country, Fate that moved the mountain. It's all in the book, All the wage scales and stuff like that. When the men them hit the trucks on Windsor Park to go to Clifton Pier to work or anywhere to work, their time don't stop until they get back where they pick them up from. I was in all of that with Sir Randall in the House of Labour. And let me tell you something. After Mr. Ingram came into power, he do something like this. If a tour company have a group coming in, they inform the union of a group coming in and the road traffic of a group coming in. So the tour company only could carry a third or what of their fleet to bring them so much, and then the next is the first taxi in line, and you give them a slip and they go to the tour office and collect. Okay? But when Mr. Ingram came into power, he changed the system. The tour companies apply for an organization. So they form a tour company alliance. So what they did, if Majestic Tour have so many people coming in, they carry so much of their fleet, and when they don't carry so much, they can give it to another tour company. Bahama Experience, Leisure Tours, and all them, they split them and give it to them. Taxi don't get none of that, because they have sufficient buses to carry their people. That's what. So the taxi only get the people on the side.
All right. So, Mr. Stubbs, we're just about out of time, but I want you to give a shout out to some folks that you know. So give some shout outs.
I would tell some of our people out there that every taxi driver out there who has a badge, the government give them a badge. However they get it, I don't know, but they have a badge by the Bahamas government. And I believe that every driver who has a badge should be in the Bahamas Taxi Cab Union. That they can do what they want to do, vote who they want to vote for president or whatever, their own officers. But we must travel the course together as you get slaughtered down with those buses. Because right now, all those, you going on the dock right now, you meet those fellas sleeping in their cars waiting for a tour next day.
Right.
And some be there for weeks and weeks. You ain't get a tour. Right. So please, drivers, work together as a team and get yourself together strong again.
Yes. I want to thank my sponsors today, Bahamas Business Solution, my engineer James, and a great thanks to Mr. Sam Stubbs, the Bahamian icon. And until next week, be a symbol of greatness to yourself and your family, your community, and in turn, you will be an icon to your country. Until next week, be great. Thanks for listening. Hanging out with T-Roy.
Open up your eyes. Open up your eyes. Life ain't all about feeling nice. Sometimes we got to go through some things. Sometimes we're gonna face many pain and suffering. Look at the footprints in the sand.
AID features Napa Auto Parts which meet or exceed